Hello, my name's Alan, and today I'm facilitating a session of Against the Dark Conspiracy. This is my own game based on the mechanics out of Cthulhu Dark and another couple of bits and bobs that I've tweaked and twisted for play in a world where there is a supernatural conspiracy behind most of what is wrong with the world. In this game, the characters will play the players will take on the role of characters seeking to confront that conspiracy. Important to say that this game, like frankly most of my games, was organized through the Gauntlet RPG community. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, then please do search Gauntlet-RPG, where you will find all about us. It's a great community of players. There are about 100 different sessions on every month. Of mostly story, indie, rules-light games. And if you're particularly, taken with us, then you could support the Patreon. That will give you access to the Codex zine. I have to say, it's getting, it's now huge. 80, 90 pages is not unusual, and so I think it's well beyond zine. But also at a certain level of Patreon, you will get priority access to games. The games fill up, so do please look us up. If you would like to try before you buy, so to speak, then at approximately 3 monthly intervals, we run what we call the Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend. This is a chance to come and play with us for free. Just log on and see what we're like. The next one actually is at the end of this month, 25th to 28th of February. I think a lot of the games are already filled, but if you go along there, you may still find a slot that suits your time zone, because we are spread around the world, and you can usually find a game that will fit in whatever time zone you happen to be. So this is a supernatural thriller game. Jason Bourne Vampire Hunter or Mission Impossibly Supernatural Creatures. Take your pick. It is set in Europe, but that doesn't mean all the characters are European, but they are all to a degree damaged. They live in the shadows. They used to work, some of them, for reputable intelligence organizations, or maybe they were part of the criminal underworld. But they live in the shadows now, freelancing. And as freelancers, each of them has encountered something that has led them to believe that there is a dark supernatural conspiracy behind much of what is wrong with the world. Of course, no one else believes them. And so they've banded together into a group of fellow believers who may have come to the conclusion about this supernatural conspiracy for different reasons. We might explore that in play. Because the one thing they have in common is that, one, they trust one another. Maybe they worked together professionally in the past. Maybe something about their discovery of the supernatural has brought them together. But we start from the premise that they trust one another. They may not all like one another, but that's different. They do trust one another. And that's important, because this is not set up to be a player versus player situation, though there are times when that will crop up. I'll come to that in a moment. We're going to play the first session. The first session will involve them receiving a lead and then pursuing it. And then play proceeds as a series of operations, hopefully taking them deeper into the conspiracy. The tone, well, look, this is a game about merciless vampires. They're venal human pawns. It's pretty merciless and cruel. So it's intended to be rich in darkness and horror, conceivably. Quite how dark or disturbing it becomes will depend on how the players approach the game. Whatever their approach, their longer-term fate is pretty bleak. Because while there are mechanisms for them to vent the stress that will otherwise cause them to crack, those mechanisms tend to have a cost. Either a cost to them, a cost to the last person in the world who still really cares about them, or a cost to another player character. And so we will tease out some of that as we go. But it is important that people are thinking about the fact that some of what they may choose to do will have an impact on another character. In terms of content warning, well, you know, I'm expecting horror, gore, probably a bit of betrayal and subterfuge on the edges of this in terms of how perhaps contacts and NPCs they encounter will treat them. Given the nature of the material, we'll be careful to use some safety tools. We like to think the Gauntlet community has a very strong table culture. And so and I'll go through this in some detail because I haven't played with all of these players before. We'll be using the X card. And the easiest way to play the X card is to show me the X card. If you're uncomfortable doing that, then please type it into the chat. I will be honest, I'm not very good at monitoring the chat. So if any other player spots an X card being put in the chat, please draw my attention to it. That is the point at which anybody feels uncomfortable about where the story is going, where the narrative is going, where the description's going. Play the X card. That will just pause the narrative. I won't ask you why you've played the X card. I may ask you how far back in the narrative you want me to rewind before I play forward, hopefully avoiding what was causing a little bit of disturbance. To try to avoid us getting to that point, we're playing with lines and veils. And I invite the players at this point to check out the lines and veils tab that I've put in. My starting lines for this, lines are things that won't come up in the narrative. It is, given the nature of the material, conceivable that the implication of some of this might come up, or the consequences of some of this might come up, but we will not see on screen sexual violence or sexual assault. We will not see harm to children. We won't see homophobia, racism, sexism. We won't get infection or plague as a major plot point. I will admit I am putting to one side the idea of the way that vampirism is communicated. We may see the consequences of that. We won't see peril to pregnant women or infants either. And as I say to the players, if they want to add any lines, they're very welcome to. In terms of veils, these are things that may come up in the narrative, but if they do, we will draw a discrete curtain and we won't see the detail. And because I'm old and British, consensual sex will be veiled. Domestic violence will be veiled. Torture by PCs or by NPCs will be veiled. And again, if there's something else you want to veil, players, please mark the sheet. I've put betrayal between PCs, violent conflict between PCs, gore, romance, and romance between PCs and with NPCs, body horror, and drug and alcohol abuse. I've put those as interested at this point because there is a mechanic in the game that actually requires you sometimes to get drunk or high, or to hit somebody, or to be nasty to somebody, or to make love to somebody in order to vent stress. So I've put them there as interested. If anybody moves any of those, I'll take notice of that, but be aware that you will begin to limit the options that you have in terms of how you can recover your stress. And I put body horror down there and gore because, you know, it's a vampire game. What can I say? So I'll invite the players to make any additions to that, and we'll just notice that before we get there. The final thing about trying to ensure that we all feel safe and comfortable at the table is we'll be using the Gauntlet Code of Conduct. And if I was boiling that down to a couple of sentences, it would be to play respectfully. And by that, you know, don't interrupt other players. Give them some thinking room. Don't insert yourself into a scene they have set up unless they invite you in. Help to keep the spotlight circulating by not hogging it. Support me when I hard frame a scene or bring it to a close to avoid any kind of repetition in an effort to keep the narrative going and the pace going. That to me ends up making you know, a good game. So that's what we're about. I'll finish by saying again, my name is Alian and I use the pronouns he, him. And then what I'd like to do is to invite the characters. I'll go from left to right on the character keeper, if I may. So let's begin. Brandon, say hello and tell us about Anna Vasilievna Smith.
So Anna Smith is an unusual case of Russian expat into Britain, who was then recruited as to be part of MI6. because of her talents and predilections. As I have her now, and this is subject to minor modification after hearing what the other people are doing. Yes, she is cheerful, she is profane, and she is strikingly competent at getting into places that she shouldn't. And she has joined the vampire conspiracy. Well, she got caught up in the vampire conspiracy without realizing what it was, as part of her work in the organization. And when she got a little wise to the fact that things weren't going as they should, they tried to have her killed. She narrowly escaped from that and has vowed retaliation against them, both on her own behalf and on behalf of society in general.
Okay, so let me ask you a couple of questions. It looks like she's done the SAS Fieldcraft course for MI6.
Yes.
So she's quite effective at doing that kind of survival stuff in the outdoors, as well as breaking into places as a black bagger. I get that. So we're looking at Fieldcraft intrusion, and you can choose a final expertise that suits what you want or balances what's happening across the team. Cheerful and profane, fine. The anchor, so ex-husband Andrei. Is Andrei expat or is he a Russian?
Andrei, I'm going to say Andrei's whatever's most interesting, but Andrei could well still be in Russia, or have gone back.
Okay.
After we split up, and our split up, of course, had to do with the fact that I'm a spy, that the pressures of just keeping things from someone, and perhaps the very and it's perfectly possible that I basically broke up with him in order to keep him from being caught up in the things that I was being compelled to do.
Because I know
before
you still
my
love him
own
very much.
break. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, even though the relationship is almost certainly doomed.
So you worked for MI6 and you were a cog in the conspiracy until they betrayed you and tried to get you killed. So does this tell me that there is a or a set of cogs related to the conspiracy inside MI6?
Yes.
I like that. Okay. And the question is, what would entice you back into the fold? And you've written the deaths of the individuals involved. That's the revenge streak.
It really is. Well, that's the closest handle I could get on somehow rooting out the poison that has taken hold in the organization. At least the people involved would have to die.
Okay.
Now, do I know everyone who's involved? I don't. I just know 2 or 3 people who must have known, or who possibly even pulled the trigger on me.
Well, do they think you're dead?
I tried to. Yes, I think so.
Okay, fine. So MI6 thinks that they have tied off or the conspiracy within MI6 thinks they've tied off a loose end. That works for me. Okay, let's move along. Leandro, say hello and tell us something about Victoria Lack.
Yeah, so hi, my name is Leandro. I use he, him pronouns. For this series, I'm playing the aforementioned Victoria Lack, uses she, her pronouns. She used to work for MI6 as well, but while Anna Smith was in the field, Victoria worked as a handler. Basically, before we recorded, Alan pitched this as Jason Bourne vampire hunt killer. Victoria would be Julia Stiles, Julia Stiles role, as in kind of like, the one who gives the orders rather than gets gets her hands dirty. Hence why she's, she can do hand to hand. You gotta have some sort of basics for that. But in terms of fighting, nah, she collects intelligence, uses people. I guess is the cold hard way to do it. And yeah, she's quite cold. I wrote down in the description that she often adopts a dour, faraway gaze. Looks like they're not paying attention, but absolutely are. They were someone who were not really committed to any kind of cause. They mostly joined up with MI6 because she needed to provide for her sister, who is like her anchor. um and and so wasn't she's good at what she did, but there wasn't really she wasn't here for queen and country. She's here because bills need to be paid, and she happened to be really good at that, also because she's kind of not great at everything else. But the game, she's good at it, which kind of made her quite quite dour, I guess.
I get that. So Clara is a twin.
Yeah, I do have a I have a version of this picture that Victoria has that doesn't have the eye mark.
Right, which is Clara. So
yes.
It wouldn't be difficult for you to be mistaken one for the other then.
Yeah, but I think, yeah, it wouldn't be, especially if there's conspiracy looking to snap me up. But the way I'm kind of thinking about it is that I don't think Victoria Lack is even like her real name. But Clara is like using their real name. Clara is like kind of imagine is like a successful writer. The reason why she got the chance to be a writer is because Victoria picked up the bills working for MI6. But the press doesn't even know that Clara has a sister. That's in the general public. But
Oh right, okay. So tell me, how did Victoria begin to suspect that there was this supernatural conspiracy?
Yeah, so I remember, I think I mentioned before we recorded that I was picking up this character, but because of the way this games work, we're not gonna filter in what happened there. I think
maybe she heard about that op.
Yeah, I think she definitely heard like rumblings of this, that there is that maybe she heard that there's some dealings that are being made by MI6 with certain elements of the conspiracy, because to be a secret, you gotta be pragmatic. You gotta see the world in shades of gray. You gotta work with the monsters that you got. And I think like that's around the time when Victoria, for kind of completely somewhat unrelated reasons, was like getting out of the game, because she did what she did. She gave her sister the chance to become successful. She can just retire now. It's like she's done. She's good at what she did, but that wasn't a passion.
Okay then. So it sounds like she's looking for a quiet retirement. Put all this vampire rubbish behind me. Put all this spying behind me. And
the thing is,
relax.
Well, the thing is, she wanted to put the spying stuff behind her, but this vampire stuff, that's something else. Because why did you choose to confront the conspiracy? I chose excitement, because it kind of seems like she got really good at the handling business of the spycraft just kind of became old hat, but this added dimension of a vampiric supernatural threat, she's kind of hoping that is something because she doesn't want to just stay quiet. She worked hard to put her sister up, but that doesn't mean she wants to she wants to keep busy.
Busy.
Sure.
It would just be a bit tedious sitting in the flat, wouldn't it, all day?
No.
So you live for the sheer unadulterated adrenaline rush of the chase. So what would you risk for that rush? Victoria?
Ooh. In an abstract sense, any chance of sitting by the beach in relative peace or harmony. In a more sense, maybe not her sister per se, but her sister's kind of like trust and love, I suppose.
Oh, right. Right.
think-
So you would be prepared to have someone tell Clara bad things about you just to stay in this game?
Yes, because at this point, Kara's self-sufficient enough. I don't have to look after her now.
I'm sensing a slight irritation on Victoria's part that you put her through school, you funded the first book, you know, and she's just scooping up all the awards. We might explore that. We might explore that. Give me a sentence in what you would risk for the rush in the box, just so as an aid memoir.
A chance for a normal life.
So you'd give that up for the chase. Okay, bang it in the box. Bang it in the box. And let's move to Daniel. Daniel, say hello and introduce us to Nadine Radke. Am I pronouncing okay?
Nadine Radke. Yeah, so I'm Daniel, he, him. I'm playing Nadine Radke, she, her. And Nadine is a former member of the Federal Office for the Protection of the Constitution, which is the domestic intelligence agency in Germany. She studied computer science at the university in Bonn, which is close to the headquarters of the agency. She became pregnant quite early during her time at university, and so she was really looking for job security when she finished, rather than some exciting IT job. And this is how she ended up with the Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz.
You know, good civil service job.
Yeah, exactly.
And what did she end up doing for them?
Yeah, she's working in the IT department and
used to work in the IT department.
Yeah, she used to work. Now, of course, she's no longer working for them at all. She was mainly spying on sects and especially on Scientology. And yeah, she also met her husband at the Bundesamt für Verfassungsschutz.
We're going to call it the BFV, okay?
Yeah, that's much easier. Yeah, what else to say? So
a spy with strong hacker skills and an interest in codes and code breaking is what I'm seeing there. Is that?
Exactly. She's actually, yeah.
I have to say, I look at the picture and I don't see a hacker.
Yeah, that's actually also how others see her. So many people ask the question, she's really a hacker?
Yeah.
She's quite athletic, and to many she appears a bit arrogant and often melancholic, which is probably due to what drove her into the conspiracy, which is loss.
Oh, right. They took someone from you. Who was it?
Yeah.
And what would you do to get your revenge?
Well, they took her husband.
Oh, what's his name?
His name is Peter, or Peter.
Yeah.
So he was also working for BFV, and during his work, the vampire conspiracy actually took note of him. And yeah, they killed him during some covert operation he was doing against them.
So she's seen the body?
She has seen the body.
Okay.
And now
Recently?
She wants revenge.
I'm just tossing that one in there, you know.
Yeah. Maybe it has already been a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
And presumably, when she put together the information about sects and cults that she was looking at and the death of her husband, she came up with this idea of some kind of conspiracy going on.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
what happened when she told her chain of command this? Was she sacked or did she resign?
Actually, she was sacked, which made her even more suspicious of a conspiracy. So now she thinks there are actually people in the BFE who are part of that conspiracy.
Talking to their opposite numbers in MI6. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
She does have an anchor, which is her teenage son, Jonas. And the problem with Jonas is that he started to hang around with the wrong kinds of friends. So he's in some sort of gang now.
Okay.
And he's not doing his homework anymore, spending time in the streets.
Say no more.
Yeah.
And what would you do to get your revenge for the death of your husband? Or is it simple to say, what wouldn't you do?
I think I would do everything apart from endangering my son.
Well, that's a good one then. So anything except endangering Jonas. Okay. I can't wait to tempt you to put him in the crosshairs. Great. And then let's move along to Danielle. Danielle, say hello and tell us something about Matthew Iliovici. Am I pronouncing that okay?
Or just Ilovici. I think he's Romanian of Romanian ethnic descent, but American, former CIA spy in a kind of undercover capacity, since people are finding things to compare it to. I think probably like the Tom Hardy in Inception kind of a person where their role is to kind of pop in, get the information, negotiate sometimes, and kind of get back out. And that's what he did before. So he's got one of those faces that you would think is kind of striking, but he also changes his facial hair a lot. Like one of those, like as soon as it's gone, it looks like a totally different person. And the kind of person that you end up talking to without realizing that you're telling your whole life story. So that's kind of his strength in that as well. But his anchor is his uncle, Aurel, who's a Romanian Orthodox priest who has kind of kept the family records and the genealogy. And this is more something that is in like his back, like he kind of views it as part of like, oh yeah, that's my ethnic heritage, and didn't really like think a lot about it per se, as just like, this is where I come from. But he, goes on Easter and Christmas and stuff like that, just to kind of like keep up it's very much part of like his community, sort of, when he can make it.
Well, I of course, that we have a Romanian genealogy here. What did Uncle Aurel tell Matthew that kind of shook up Matthew's worldview a little bit? He must have.
Yeah. I think that while talking about people who have come before, they're probably from a specific area in Romania, like right on the Hungarian border, which is where this would have been naturally. But I think that he always invested a lot in Matthew and was like, yes, we have another, warrior in the family. And he's like, what are you talking about? And he's like, oh yes, and then to pull stories of people, whether they were priests in that area or others who fought against unspecified forces of darkness in the past. But I think what kind of helped it click for him was on these, as he was doing making contact with people, seeing symbols and things crop up in people that he was making contact with that he recognized as being connected to these things, because he's like, oh, Uncle Laurel is, you know, this is kind of full of it. But running into people who are very scared of very specific things, I think helped him start putting things together. As far as that, I don't know if he's seen, you know, bodies, but enough to make him curious to like look online and probably connect to things other people have been putting together.
Okay, and given his heritage and perhaps language skills, he will have done quite a bit of work in Europe. And now that he's beginning to explore his family roots, you know, the grandfather who supposedly there was this stake in a coffin, who knows? But the family tell the story. So he's kind of going into the family business, though he may not realize he is. Okay. And the question that goes with, you've chosen, why do you choose to confront the conspiracy? Faith, you believe in something that's anathema to them. So the question is, what do you believe in? And what would it take for you to betray that belief?
I think that he's not believed in much before, but upon seeing this, just a kind of belief that there is something very like opposed to everything that these vampires are, so that there is some kind of spiritual cause. But I think that he's spent his life trying to shore up, you know, you always have to make sure the scales are balanced in your favor. You have to shore up power where you are. And I think that it's whether or not he is going to ally with this, you know, this kind of legacy, this idea, or if he's just going to be like, no, this is me and I need to do what I need to do to survive in the world, kind of a thing.
I am going to pin you down on what do I'm the conspiracy. What do I have to offer you to betray that belief that, you know, maybe the family has got some heritage commitment to this? Maybe, you know, maybe there is good and evil in the world. What do I have to do to get you to betray your ideals, such as they are?
I think possibly just like a safe life where you don't have to worry about it. You know what I mean? Like a safe exit from the constant back and forth.
Okay. So if they go after the family, using the family as hostages, for instance, might be enough to get you to betray your belief that you could go after this lot. I put something like that in that box, just as an aid memoir for us all. Okay. So I'm not going to ask you the questions below about which member of the team do you care most about or least about, because I always find it's easier to let people have a bit of a play, and then you can begin to develop concerns or whatever. It is 5 to the hour. I'm going to suggest we take our first break, and we are back at the table at 5 past the hour, and then we'll pick up in media res. Okay, so I will pause the recording. Start the recording. We're back from our break. So we have a really interesting cast that spans the European theatre. And I didn't point the players at this, but if there's a tab in the character keeper, there's a cycle of play. Yeah. And in session 1, find a lead that outlines the operational objective. So what I'm thinking is that Nadine, you get a call from a former colleague in the BFV. They've been talking to their British opposite numbers because, you know, these people liked you, and maybe Claudia is concerned about you and, you know, feels bad that you lost your husband, then you lost your job. And she probably knows that Jonas is not being the best son in the world right now. And so she knows that you don't believe the official story on the death of your husband. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah.
And so she's been in touch with somebody called Jane, or at least she knows her as Jane. And to be honest, she's pretty confident Jane is MI6, could be MI5, but she's pretty confident she's MI6. And Jane claims to know something about what's gone on, whether that's directly about your husband or whether it's about the conspiracy, you're not certain. But that is why we find ourselves in London.
Mm-hmm.
It's a rainy night, and you've collectively set up a meeting with Jane because Jane has convinced you that she has some solid information that might be helpful to you. So let's start with, let's go to Anna. Anna, I think that the meet is on Hampstead Heath. This is an opportunity for you to display to our audience something about your expertise. So what do we, when we first kind of open on Hampstead Heath, we've got the lights of London in the background. What do we see of Anna?
So I'm tempted to say that you see this scene, in Hampstead Heath with people, passersby, walking about and doing ordinary things, and then the scene pulls back a little, and you see that in fact you're looking at it through the scope of a high-powered rifle.
Yeah.
The electronic crosshairs become manifest, and you see little wind direction and distance to target digital indicators up in the corners of the view.
I like that.
And then the camera breaks and you see her taking her eye away from the scope and sort of taking in the scene as a whole.
Okay, now what that tells me is that you have a sniper rifle. So would you like to go down to gear and select a sniper rifle? And though a sniper rifle only takes up two of your little load boxes, the fact that it has two of your load boxes means that you have to be at least medium loaded. So you've got lots of options, yeah? So you all start light, but I'm going to mark medium for you,
right?
Yeah? Because even when you put it back in its rather nice, sleek plastic box, it's going to take up a little bit of obvious space. So they were right. That's great. I love that. Let's be clear, though, I think. Victoria, what time of day is this? What time of day have you set the meet for? Are the people that we've seen in the scope people, out for an evening stroll, or are they out for a morning stroll, or are they, what?
Yeah, I think this is gonna be in the morning. It's going to be right. It's gonna be right in the middle of the morning. I'd say not early enough where you get like the real like hardcore joggers out there, but not close enough to lunch where you get people drifting out of work. Or at least that's what they used to do.
Yeah, we are playing in a world where there is no pandemic because, frankly, it would cramp our style.
Yeah, so probably around like 10 a.m.-ish. So people are now at work when they should be.
So most of the people milling about are there for leisure. They may be, walking the kids or whatever. Okay, so some people jogging, the odd cyclist, but it's not that kind of rush hour time. Okay, that's great. Moving along to Nadine. I guess. No, I have to ask Victoria. Victoria, what do we see you doing that showcases your skill set?
Yeah, I think I think like she is like, I'm trying to remember what Hampstead Heath looked like.
Oh, just lots of parks with paths in it.
Okay.
Trees,
Okay.
copses
Yes.
of trees.
She is like next, like she's standing by a pond and is kind of like she's fending off someone who's trying to make small talk at the moment.
Is this a member of the public or is it Nadine?
It's a member of the public. No, I think Nadine's a professional.
Okay.
I think some blackguard with a big loaf of bread trying to feed the ducks and trying to tell Victoria about how he should be allowed to feed the ducks. And how he ain't ever seen a duck explode from eating bread in his years of coming here. And Victoria is like politely just telling him to fuck off.
Now I'm curious whether it's Victoria, Nadine, or Matthew who are actually going to make contact with Jane. So be mulling that over as you describe what you're doing. Because it's, well, unless it's a different kind of contact, it's not going to be Anna. So we move along to Nadine. Nadine, what do we see you doing that showcases your skill set?
Not much yet, because I have just arrived in London. I think I took a very, very early morning flight, so I'm looking really tired now. I guess I'm just tossing a coffee to go into the next bin, an empty cup.
So
and
you're not in the back of a black van with your computer then?
Not right now, no.
Okay.
I do have a smartphone with me, and I'm still a bit distracted. I'm sending an email to Jonas because I disappeared so suddenly in the morning.
Of course, who knows what he's doing?
Yeah, exactly.
There'll be a party at your house tonight.
Yeah.
Okay, so a slightly flustered Nadine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I do have a Wi-Fi access point with me, which I place somewhere in this park, and it's an open access point. I'm just trying to see if we can get whoever is coming here to maybe log into that free Wi-Fi.
Okay. And we'll come to that one in a moment. And then finally, Matthew. What do we see of Matthew that showcases any of his skill set?
I think of that as the camera is walking, kind of zooming through the park and whatnot. You see some legs extending from behind a large newspaper that's opened, and I think if from the side, he's just keeping an eye out on who's here yet. But I think it kind of crinkles to the side and he's like, you can't improve on the classics. And I think probably then gets up briefly, sees a Victoria over there trying to maintain while being harassed, and probably like walks over like, darling, I've been waiting for you for so long. Thank you. We're over here. We're over here actually.
Well, look, I mean, I think that triggers our first brush with the mechanics then. Yeah. Because what I think you're trying to do here is to extricate Victoria from this situation, presumably without causing a fuss.
Yes.
Yeah. So it seems to me there's two ways you can come at this. You could play the authority card, which is actually, I'm her husband, you need to fuck off. Not so many words. Or you could try the negotiation approach, which is, I'd love to talk about the duck feeding, but so what's the kind of approach that you're boiling it down to?
I think that he's very much not hauling all the guns out on the first blow. He's very much just hoping that Duckman will take a hint.
Fine. So he's just trying to be a convincing husband to Victoria, or boyfriend or whatever for Victoria.
fully expecting the daggers from Victoria as a result.
Well, I think that probably boils down to disguise then. So this is in your expertise. Now, you will always get to roll the dice that's in the middle, which I'm seeing as a kind of gray color. Yeah, you always roll that. If your expertise is valid and you have access to it, you'll also roll the orange one at the top. Yeah?
Okay.
I will try to remember to say you can always add a third dice, the stress dice, the green dice, because the more dice you have, the better, because you are looking for the single biggest number on the dice you roll. Yeah?
Okay.
And so I think you are rolling to do something else here, which is to just get rid of this guy. Do you want to include your stress dice?
Not right yet, hopefully.
Okay. So highlight the gray and the orange and roll.
Okay. Ooh.
Oh, 1 and a 2. Okay. So what it says on the basic moves tab is when you do something else, roll blah, blah, blah. On 1 to 3, you fail or succeed at a cost, or after a hard choice the GM will describe. Do you want to fail and have this guy now bother both of you? Or do you want to succeed at a cost?
I'll succeed at a cost sounds interesting. I mean, he could whichever works, but if getting this guy to go away while impacting, meaning Victoria doesn't like me very much, or something else. But also I could just straight fail as well. Like,
well,
honestly.
What do you want to do?
I think
I'll tell you, because it's going to cost you a point of heat, come what may.
Okay. Then I think I'll succeed with a cost.
Okay. And I think what the audience will see is the crosshairs of Anna's scope is now taking in you, the civilian, and Victoria. And then we realize it's a different scope. Yeah. So heat is on the very far left-hand side of the character sheet. So I'm going to mark the first suspicious box. Yeah. So someone's watching. Now, Nadine, you were interested in whether anyone was going to log on, weren't you? Anybody was going to just stumble into a free access point without realizing.
Yeah, exactly. So I set it up in a way that most devices would auto connect to that Wi-Fi.
Okay. I think then that sounds like digital intrusion, because that's in effect what you're doing, isn't it? So you're rolling with expertise. So you're rolling the center dice and the orange dice. Would you like to include your stress dice to increase your chance of success?
Not right now.
Fine. I mean, that worked for Matthew. Okay, so a 5. So I think that I think this is, you want to ask me some questions about who's logging in, don't you, really? You want to know what's what. Okay, so I'm going to treat this as investigate. So 4 or 5, you get the bare minimum, and you also get the answer to one question. So the bare minimum is that a whole range of people in the area are now connecting. Yeah. But there's one of them that clearly the phone is set up not to connect, and somebody has programmed it. They've not put in place the security they should have done. It's a phone that has significant security, which is not being used, which to you smells of somebody being sloppy at espionage. Okay?
Yeah.
So do you want to ask me a question? And don't get me wrong, you can invent any kind of snazzy software you like.
Or maybe based on what I know about the intelligence community, what organization would use this device, which I can probably recognize?
I think that's probably true. I think this smells of MI6.
Okay.
Okay?
Yeah.
let me now go to Victoria. Victoria, you've got the guys wandered off. So you and Matthew are together. I think this is the point where I need to ask you, what exactly was the rendezvous point? Is it next to the pond? Are you expecting somebody wearing a carnation to turn up next to the pond, or what, Victoria?
I think there's a gazebo near the pond. And I wasn't gonna wait at the gazebo. I was gonna make my way there. I do shoot Matthew a look. And just kind of like say, because like Victoria doesn't really have a loud voice. I had that handled, but thank you, Matthew.
Oh, always. I mean, did you have it handled? But no matter, it is now.
It's handled, yes.
Let me go back round to Anna. Anna, you know, we've seen you kind of surveying the scene from a reasonably secure spot. What do we see you doing? Because you'll have observed this little coming together of Matthew and Victoria. You're probably spotting a little bit further away on a park bench. You're probably spotting Nadine. What else are you doing right now, apart from covering the scene?
Well, I mean, I may well be listening to Victoria talk if she's on open channel to me.
You all have secure comms. You've got
right.
earbuds.
So I just presume I'm looking for trouble. I am looking for any signs that this, especially that this meeting might be monitored or compromised.
Okay, I think that's investigation using fieldcraft. You're looking for, where would you be other than, because obviously you're in the best place, but if there was another good place where someone would be observing from, where would that be? Yeah?
Yeah.
So I think you're rolling with expertise. So it's the center dice and the orange dice. Would you like to include your stress dice to improve the chance of success?
Not yet.
Okay, just the two then. Oh,
I have a 4.
4 or 5. I'm able to tell you that you just get a slight glint of another scope, probably a couple of 100 yards the other side of the gazebo. And you think it's another sniper scope.
Okay.
But you also get to ask me a question, if you want to.
Well, I don't think I have enough information to know to have any idea who it might be.
Well, you could ask me a question about it. You get there's a scope over there for nothing.
Right. Do I know who this is?
I think that you can zero in on that, and I think you will see that it is, you're looking at where they are. It's actually in a set of bushes. If you were out with the SAS, that's where you'd put a sniper. So I think your understanding of the way these organizations work tells you that is a professional, and it could well be a British professional. Okay?
Yeah, well, it'd be pretty daring for anybody else to do it, right?
It probably would.
Victoria, you're on camera, not just with me.
Oh, lovely. Any of the usual suspects?
SAS, I'm thinking. Do you need me to deal with him?
Not right now.
I think right now, just watching as far as I can tell. But they are, they're ready.
Well, let's just hope you're ready as well.
I'm ready. It's just a question of what. and when it drops into the pot.
Um,
Usual code words.
Noted.
And I think then Matthew and Victoria, you will see a woman in her 30s in an elegant black coat. I didn't check the weather. I'm going to assume it's not raining. She's just arrived at the gazebo, and she would be just on time if she was Jane.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna reach in my pocket and toss out some garlic croutons to the duck pond pad waiting. Kind of like, I guess the reply if Matthew's coming along. Let's say Matthew's coming along. If you're okay with that, Danielle.
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, she'll just Victoria will just kind of casually walk to the gazebo. I will say that like Victoria walks awkwardly because everyone else kind of described how they walk, how they move around the world. Yeah, Victoria is not one for athletics.
So slightly ungainly approach with Matthew. Approaching as a couple, I guess, given that the cover is now established, you need to kind of go with it.
Oh yeah, I guess I should offer my hand, my arm.
And so we'll see again through Anna's scope. We'll see the pair of you moving up towards the gazebo. The scope is alternating between you, the person in the gazebo, and whatever that is, that scope or the sniper beyond the gazebo is. Nadine, there is traffic on that phone.
Yeah, I'm going to observe that traffic.
Okay, so I think again that's digital intrusion.
Yeah.
With you're investigating. So again, I'll ask the same question: just the 2 dice, or would you like the green one too?
Just the 2 for now.
Okay.
Oh, a 6.
Oh, a 6. Oh, a 6. Now that's a good result. Okay, so to investigate on a 6, you get the bare minimum, and you also get the answers to 2 questions, but also mark intel as you discovered more about the war you're waging. Yeah, so mark intel. You'll have 2 questions. Scary, isn't it? Roll for stress. This is all beginning to feel like a setup, Nadine. And how would they know about all of this? Is somebody watching you all the time? I wonder if Jonas is safe. Shit. So what you do is you roll the green dice. If it scores higher than your current stress, your stress increases by 1.
Okay.
And up it goes. How does stress manifest for Nadine?
I think her heartbeat is increasing. It's faster, and she's she looks very, very nervous now.
Okay.
For now, that's all.
Okay, that's okay. So you're approaching Matthew. What kind of, what do we see of you? Are there precautions you're taking, or is this a straightforward approach?
I think that has a confident stride, kind of naturally takes Victoria's arm and is just kind of like, don't worry about it. And we just kind of like wander over to the gazebo, like slightly obliquely, but just like enough for him to survey the perimeter, and just kind of would want to get a read on Jane to see, like, can I see if she has she's wearing a coat, but
She is.
like,
What else?
yeah, it's, what's underneath there?
Okay, I think that's investigate, and I'm wondering. I'm not seeing that as a particular area of expertise, because authority disguised negotiation, unless you can make a case for that.
I mean, I think that disguise might give him a recognition of another disguise.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah, no, I go with that. So roll with expertise and include the stress dice if you really want to.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can save that. Maybe it'll let me. Go. A 4, or do I have to add them, or no? I only.
It's the highest number. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
And where the stress dice is equal to or higher than any other number, stress automatically goes up by 1.
Oh, so that means that I mark stress.
You do.
Okay.
But you rolled a 4. That means that that you get to ask me a question. And I guess the question
is it a 4 or a 2? Oh, she rolled the stress die. I'm sorry.
Did you roll the stress?
No.
Oh, I beg your pardon. I'm sorry. I thought I saw it move at the corner of my eye. I thought you'd gone with it.
No worries.
Then relax. Don't mark the stress dice yet. Yeah. Don't mark stress. You're sorry, my mistake.
No.
So on a 2, fail or succeed at a cost. Or a hard choice.
I think he just is not familiar. It could just be like the cut of women's clothing is befuddling right
Fine.
now.
So you fail. But you do mark heat. Because maybe you look a bit obvious. What about you, Victoria? What kind of approach are you making?
Yeah,
because Matthew's just looking about.
Yeah, I think I will just say hi to this figure. May not be Jane. Who knows if Jane is even the real name? God, what would be like the code phrase?
Well, you tell me. How were you going to recognize one another?
I think my opening code phrase would be, I hope you haven't been caught in the rain lately.
I know the weather's been terribly nice, hasn't it?
Right, can I roll to see if that's the right one?
No, it is the right one.
Okay, cool. All right, cool.
It is the right one. Right. Nadine, you notice that channel that you've been monitoring kind of goes click, click, click. And she takes her hand out of her pocket. She may have had her hand on her phone. But Anna, what you notice is that the sniperscope that you've been keeping an eye on, because there's just a slight glint on it, withdraws into the bush. Yeah?
Okay.
And Jane says to Victoria, you've never met. I think we think that she's MI6, but you never met her. And she very carefully, looking you in the eye all the time, reaches into her inside pocket and takes out an envelope and holds it out to you. Do you take it?
Yeah, I think I'll take it, and I think I'll just kind of lightly kind of say, this must be quite radioactive if you're reaching out to freelancers.
It's something that might interest you, that is outside the scope of my office.
The office casts a wide net. This must be something truly beyond you.
Not wide enough for this, and in fact, it may come to nothing. I doubt you'll hear from me again. Good morning.
Good morning.
And she drifts off.
Yeah. I'm not going to open this folder right now. We're in public space.
Okay.
I think I'll likely just say, I think the code phrase for saying, received a package just for Anna's sake is, oh God, my mind went to the word salami. I don't know why. I think I'll mention
the salami is sliced. The salami is sliced.
I'll say to Matthew, can we have salami for dinner?
And that means all is well. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I'm going to cut now to the safe house. On the far right-hand side of the character tab, you'll find the safe house. Yeah. And I have some questions for you. So I think that I'm going to go back round to Anna. No, I think the second question is better for Anna. Let me go to Nadine. Briefly describe this place. What is this? Is it a flat? Is it a warehouse? What is it?
I think it's a flat. It's not a very big one, so it's a bit crowded in there.
Small flat in a high rise. Yeah. No, I shouldn't. I should ask Matthew to tell me who is vulnerable nearby. If this place was hit, who else would be in the firing line?
I think that there's a lovely market in the lower half. It like right nearby or like right underneath it if it's above it.
Fine. Oh, well, in fact, then let's not make it high rise. Let's make this a low rise. So maybe it's a flat above a street of shops with a street market. Yeah. Okay. A flat above a newsagent with a street market and healthy nightlife. Okay. What reassures you about this place, Anna? Because you're our tactical expert.
Yeah, there's two things. It's hard. It's got an obvious approach. There's no. It's hard to approach without being spotted, and it has a way of bugging out that, looking at building diagrams, you couldn't guess. It involves basically crossing from the window of this flat to the window of an adjacent one that happens to be undergoing renovations, so nobody lives there.
Okay, so down the fire escape of the empty flat next door, something like that.
That's right. Yeah. So it's got a very inobvious bug out that would be that people would probably not think to cover because they don't realize it's there.
And it would be really difficult for you to get there, but it isn't. Okay. Why isn't it perfect, Victoria?
Because it's not easy to get there without at least one witness, thanks to the market, thanks to the shops. Yeah, I don't like that we get seen. Sorry, Anna.
Okay, so obvious approach means lots of people could see you come and go without them being spotted, because it's always quite busy out there. Who knows how many pavement artists are surveilling this place? Okay, there is another question, which is, which single benefit does it offer? I'm not going to ask you that question yet, but what it means is that when I do ask it, it can either provide you with automatic weapons, heavy weapons, or what I've called tech toys. So, drones and, listening devices and all that kind of stuff. Heavy weapons could include the makings of a bomb. But I won't ask you yet. I'll let you make that choice when you've got some idea what the opposition might be like. So I'm imagining this small, slightly dingy flat. Maybe you can hear the ring of when the door to the newsagent's open, there's a go ding dong, really annoying all the time. And I'm seeing you round this rather wobbly table with this envelope sitting in the middle of it and the four of you around it. I mean, Victoria, you're the keeper of the envelope at this point. What do you do?
Yeah, I think I'll just like open it. I'll put it on the table to open it. I also have a can of croutons that I'm eating out of.
Okay, it appears to be a set of newspaper cuttings.
Mhm.
And the thing that all these newspaper cuttings have in common is they relate to the disappearance of homeless people. Anyone got any questions?
Yeah. Can I see if like these disappearances, like where are they all like centered? There's like a commonality.
I can tell you for nothing that they're all in London.
Mhm.
And I can tell you for nothing that they are spread over the last 6 to 8 months.
Okay.
Okay. Now, the way we go from here is that each of you has an investigative scene where you can do some legwork, you can, examine the evidence, inverted commas, and investigate and ask me some questions, and hopefully earn some more intel. You never know your luck. Yeah. So, so the basic information: homeless people going missing last 6 to 8 months across London. Right. Let me go reverse order in this case, just for fun. Matthew, how do you want to investigate this lead?
Would this be a place where we would use contacts, or?
You can certainly, if you want to, because if you were to, for instance, you might judge that you wanted to get in touch with a criminal contact to find out whether the criminal underworld knows anything about that. Yeah. And what I would do was that I would give you a benefit. I'd give you an extra question on your investigate for cashing in a point of stress to access your contact. Or you can just go out and investigate stuff on the basis of whatever you find in these cuttings.
Okay.
Yeah. So what do you feel? What do you want us to see Matthew doing in this scene?
I think that he is probably in the streets outside, kind of like going in and out, sort of like wearing something completely different, kind of vanishing into alleyways and talking to other, homeless people, like hanging out outside of, food lines and things like that, dropping names to see if he can hear people go like, oh yeah, I knew John and he vanished at this point. And
well, I was going to the cinema a lot in the heyday of the split screen. So we will see in a quarter of the screen, we will see Matthew, talking to homeless people and using his disguise and his negotiation, I guess, to try to put them at their ease. Yeah. Okay. What then do we see Nadine doing?
Well, of course, she's using her laptop, which is what she's good at. She's trying to find a pattern when it comes to the places where these homeless people have disappeared.
Okay.
So she's using some, I don't know, Google Maps or some other map servers, obviously.
Yeah. And working our way through these. So probably sat at that table with the laptop and the just going each one, underlining anything about location, plugging it in. Yeah. We got another quarter of the screen. Victoria, what about you?
Going out into the streets. I think at least for this, Victoria is gonna pour over the folder, and what she's gonna do is like look through like the clippings and investigate if there's any like recurring patterns or any commonalities. Like if there's something popped up in the first clipping on the first reported case, and seeing if it pops up again in all the other reported cases.
Okay, so probably sat on the other side of the table, and as Nadine is plugging the location data in, you're then taking it and trying to establish, Anything, any commonalities? Okay, I've got that. And finally, Anna, what do we see you doing?
Yes. One note about Anna, by the way, anyone who worked with her professionally probably knew her as Minder 2 and might call her just 2 as a nickname. Anna is, there's a couple of particular cases where the clippings clearly don't say everything about the situation, where there's missing information. And so what Anna's doing is Anna's breaking into a police station to have a look at the actual records of the investigation, rather than the stuff they chose to give to the public, which has clearly been sanitized by some entity.
Okay. No, I like that. I like that. So I think I'll probably do it in that order. Let me start then with Matthew. We've seen probably half the screen is actually Victoria and Nadine, and you're in the top left of the corner, and then it expands to fill the screen, and you're talking to some homeless folks in a food line waiting to get their, hot soup or whatever it is. I think that this is investigation. I think I'm going to give you expertise, because I think that, maybe you're telling them, oh, I was on the street for a while,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just like, have you seen John around? Like, he was here last time I was here, but I've been on the road a bit.
Okay. So you're trying to pin down if they know anyone that you've picked up from these cuttings. Fine. I think this is rolling to investigate with expertise. Is this important to you enough to you now to include the stress dice? I'm just curious, obviously.
I think I've now got the hang of it enough to include a stress dice. We're gonna
Okay.
Is that the green?
That is the green one.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of getting a hang. I'm just realizing that if you don't, it's kind of like you're doing the personal cost versus the cost for everybody. It's sort of the balance here that I'm really okay.
And sometimes, if you're lucky, all of those.
Ooh. Good time to use it.
The stress dice was a good decision.
Wow, this is great. Okay, so on a 6, you get to ask me, you get the basics, you get to ask me 2 questions. And yes, they do recognize some of these names. Ginger Bill, and Susie the Punk. They remember them, and I already know them. Yeah, I haven't seen them for a while. So what 2 questions do you want to ask me? And before you phrase the questions, I want you all to check out the operation tab. Yeah. I'm going to fill in the lead, which is that something mysterious has happened, investigated and tracked conspiracy involvement. Yeah. Now, you can ask a question about where should you be looking, and the starting location is a village near the city, a small town near the city, a suburb of the city, or a bit of the city. Yeah. And then you can ask another question about, well, exactly where, and that's the operational target. So you will answer your own questions here to an extent to shape the operation you will embark upon. Does that make sense? I'm talking to Danielle now rather than Matthew. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So I'm shaping my character questions to get these kinds of answers.
Exactly. Okay. So
okay.
You've played this kind of game before.
Not as often, but yes. I think that Matthew would want to know kind of like, would it help, because it looks like there's when you say target, is this like just about that question? Is it about like a group of people, or is it specifically geography?
It's geography. Yeah.
Okay.
So once you work from the top down, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah. So you'll get a big area, and then you'll begin to narrow it down to where you need to go look. Fair?
Okay. So the order makes sense. All right.
Yeah.
I think Matthew would would be like, oh, well, you know, I ran into them around here, but where was the last place that you guys saw them?
And you get to answer the question, where's the starting location then? Because they will tell you what you want to hear.
Oh, okay.
So where do you want this operation to take place is the meta question you're answering.
Okay. Because where do we figure out where our safe house is? Are we outside the city? Are we?
It's in London.
Okay.
So you've got free reign.
Okay. Then why don't we put this in the entertainment district?
Okay. So somewhere in the West End of London was the last time they saw them. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
I'm going to leave your second. I'm going to come back to you for your second question in a moment, because I now want to go to Nadine, who's been plugging geographic data into the computer and trying to get some kind of pattern around this.
Yeah.
And you know, you're picking up the comms from Matthew saying, "Oh, the entertainment district." So that, you know, the map kind of goes. You want to investigate geographic. I think this is with expertise. So you're rolling the grey one and the orange one. Would you like to include your stress dice?
Yes.
I haven't forgotten that 6 on the stress dice, by the way, Matthew. That's just on the shelf up here.
Okay, so.
Oh, close run thing. Because it's a 5 on the stress dice, that's fine. You rolled a 6 on a different dice. So that's another 6. Oh, 2 6s to play with. That's interesting. So you get to ask me 2 questions as well. So based on the fact that Matthew thinks that you need to be looking in the entertainment district, you can now concentrate your efforts there. Do you want to begin to refine something that appears to be at the center of all these dots you've put on the map?
Yeah, I thought I'm probably recognizing that most of the missing homeless people are or went missing in the entertainment district, but I think I'm trying to identify the center of where all these different dots would meet if we draw lines between them.
All this sophisticated modeling is going on.
Yeah, of course.
And I think that allows you to pick an operational target. So what do you want to pick? There's a selection of about 6 pairs in there. For the first instance, you just pick one of the pairs.
It's a club or restaurant.
Okay. So there's a couple of clubs, a couple of restaurants in the West End. You haven't yet managed to pin it down to which one. Okay. So Matthew's still got a question and a 6. You've got a question and a 6. But let me go to Victoria. Victoria, you've been looking for patterns. Yeah. Patterns, anything that keeps cropping up in this. Yeah. So that sounds like an investigate. I can't remember what your expertise is, but investigation would count. Yeah, that would count. So you're rolling with expertise. You're very welcome to include the stress dice.
Yeah, you know, let's add that in. Let's do this. Cool. Wow, that's some brutal results there.
Oh, that is brutal, isn't it? That is brutal. That just for our viewers, our 1,000 viewers, that's a 1 and a pair of 2s. So first of all, because the stress dice is equal to or higher than any other dice, stress goes up by 1. And this is failure or success at a cost. Do you want to be able to answer a question on this, or are you prepared to just deal with the increase in heat?
Since it's just investigate, the 1 to 3 says you get the bare minimum, right?
You do. I will give you but you don't get to ask. You get the bare minimum, but you don't get to ask me any questions unless you want to succeed at a cost.
Oh, Well, the thing is, like, I don't know what that would look like looking up newspaper clippings in the
Oh,
folder.
I'm very happy to insert a cut scene of someone looking at video footage of you in the park.
I'm down
No,
for
don't you
that.
worry about that. You leave that to me.
Sure. Yeah. Let me look at the how are he doing? Oh wow, that's disgusting.
Oh,
Sure.
Heat fills upwards, so I've
Okay.
moved that alarmed into suspicious. Just
Okay.
fill suspicious, then start filling the next one. So yeah. So you got plenty of they're still only suspicious.
Let's invite danger. Sure, why not? Oh, succeed at a cost.
Succeed at a cost. Okay, I think the cost is that on a 1 to 3 you're going to mark heat anyway. So I'll do that now. And I think that we'll have a cut scene where some individuals that we cannot recognize, we see behind them looking at a video and looking at the meet in the park playing. Yeah. So I'm going to mark heat a second time. But you now do get to ask me a question. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what do you want to know? Do you want to fill in some more details on the operation? Do you want to decide whether each of these mentions, because we're dealing with a club or restaurant, do you want to pin it down to whether it's a club or a restaurant that keeps being mentioned?
Yeah. Can I pin it down to a club?
You can.
Which I've not been to in not more than a year. Definitely not even before the pandemic. I haven't been to a club in a while. But clubs
Okay,
feel like
so
vampiric nonsense. So.
Putting together the geographic refinement you got from Matthew and Nadine, there's a couple of mentions in several mentions across these cuttings of a club in the West End, which has been running a charity project around the homeless. Okay, so we now know it's a club, not a restaurant. So I'll just make a note in the details of club, not restaurant. Whoops daisy, sorry, club. There we go. Let's go to Anna. No, I tell you what, I think I'm in a position now to go back around, ask the second questions, and then we'll use Anna for something different, I think. So let me go back round and say, what's the second question you have, Matthew, that might allow you to determine whether this club is a hot ticket club or not?
Meaning that if it's popular, or
is it somewhere, is it kind of high class, low class? Is it celebs, just is it where the city goes clubbing, or is it a dive bar? Where do you want to pitch the quality of the clientele, I suppose is what I'm, which in a way may be deciding which kind of clientele Matthew wants to pretend to be. I don't know.
Okay. I think yeah, I think he's asking like what kind of, because there's like a program, or there's a charity program for the homeless that's nearby, so he's interested in like, what do you gotta clean up while you go over there? Do you how do you how should I approach this, because I'm interested in this program.
Okay, well, no, they run a, you can get a meal round the back. They run a soup kitchen out around the back of the club. So there's a soup kitchen around the back of the club. Yeah?
Okay. Yep.
Seem like a fair second question? Let's now deal with the fact that you rolled a 6 on the stress dice. Because what it says is, you've had your 2 questions. Mark intel, because this is rich. This is an intel-rich conversation. But it is beginning to sound like, a club running a charity, it just doesn't quite fit. And this conspiracy seems to have its fingers in a lot of pies. So it's stressful in it. So you've already marked stress for rolling a 6 on the stress die. I won't make you roll again, right?
Okay, yeah, I didn't know how that would.
Yeah, I won't hit you for 2 stress on 1 roll.
Okay.
Until we get, further in. Let's go to Nadine. You've got a question left on the table. The operation now, we've narrowed it down. There's a soup kitchen. Sorry, missed the word kitchen, around the back of the club. We're still not clear what the front of the club is like. What is Google reveal about this club? You want to give it a name, for instance, or tell us something about it?
I think it's some 80s retro club. So the target group is also people who were actually young in the 80s. But
wow, they're really old now.
Yeah. Well, there are probably also younger people who think it's cool.
Yeah.
But it's not very high class, so it's really more working class.
Okay.
Target audience. I don't really have a cool name now.
Well, we'll think about a name.
Yeah.
But it's not very high class. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me now then go to Anna. Yeah. So Anna, I'm probably seeing you on a rooftop above a police station. Yeah. I'm going to assume you've got there. I'm going to treat this as an investigate with intrusion. Yeah.
Right.
Because that's what you want to. You want to get in and find out some stuff, don't you?
Yes.
Okay. So describe how you are going to get in.
I'm basically going to, this is basically second story work, except it's, technically it's sixth story. It's, well, people, this building still has has casement windows, and people on the sixth floor don't lock their windows.
Why would you?
Why would they lock the window? Because the only way to get there is to come down from a line from the roof.
And, no one's ever going to do that to a police station.
No, it's if everybody had perfect operational security, things would be harder, but they don't. So yeah, someone's left a window open a crack, which means it's not alarmed, which means I can get in there without detection. And these places really aren't made to stop someone getting into places from the inside, with with the exception of the weapons lockers and things like that. Which are,
okay, and they're in the basement. We all know that. Okay,
right.
So I think this is investigate with intrusion. It's a novel use of intrusion. So you're rolling with expertise. Do you want to include the stress dice?
I do.
Okay, roll all three.
I don't want to run into the wrong kind of company here.
Look at that, another 6. So now 6. You can ask the bare minimum is that I think we see you in the CID in missing persons, and it's deserted because they've all gone home for the day. No one's on nights, and we see you kind of just going through files, just looking for stuff. Is that what we're seeing?
Yes, I'm looking for the for the redacted parts of these reports.
Okay.
Not the ones that have the little, they put a little label on them, which is not for public commentary, or sometimes they're in a separate filing cabinet, which isn't too hard to break into.
Okay. Right. So the bare minimum you will find is that you will find a filing cabinet marked closed cases. That's the bare minimum, right? And you will, on opening that, you'll see missing person - homeless. And a quick skim of that file shows that every name that you remember from the cuttings is in there with a stamp on it said missing, and scribbled underneath left London. Okay.
Right.
And clearly, these cases have been closed, right? Now, you can ask me two questions. And if you look at the third question down on the briefing in the operation, it says, what is the most significant, though probably not the only threat? Now, I think that you could use an answer to your question to define the most significant, though probably not the only threat. And this is a chance for you to pitch how difficult you want this op to be.
Right. As
Now,
it goes down.
You know, my advice to you would be that they're arranged in order from easy to hard. If you go in hard without knowing anything about the supernatural, you could get into difficulties. Just be aware of that. You know, I'm not going to stop you confronting the supernatural and failing, but the chance of success will be slight at this point. You need more intel.
Okay, so should I remain on the top half of the list? Or?
Well, you know, all I'm saying is I wouldn't go for the bottom two yet.
Yes, okay, no, I got that. Well, the one that makes the most sense, actually, given the disappearance of homeless people, is number 4. Is that they're being disappeared to be worked on.
Oh, conspiracy, pseudo-scientists, or cultists, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so yeah, the name Dr. Markov crops up as a witness statement on these witness statements. And Dr. Markov is the person who is running the soup kitchen, it appears, or at least is representing the charity, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Dr. Markov. Okay, we have a Dr. Markov in play. You get to ask me another question. Now, this could be, hang on, I just need to make this a bit bigger. This could be to add any detail to what we already know about this club, because maybe there's something in the police records that talks about this club, or the soup kitchen, or Dr. Markov. Take your pick.
Markov has form, as we say.
But I think the other thing I'll tell you is that yes, he does have form. He has form. It appears that he has held a number of academic jobs, but none of which have lasted very long. Yeah, he's moved around a lot across Europe's higher education organizations. And I think it would be cool if he was a hematologist. I think he studies blood. Yeah.
Yes.
But what freaks you out, because you rolled a 6, you are going to mark intel for that 6. But what you discover is that there's a second stamp on the bottom of the ones that mention Markov. And it's a Home Office stamp that says, person of Home Office interest, no further investigation.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. So Markov has form, but he also has friends. Okay. So we have a club, 80s retro. It's in the city's entertainment district. And we have a Dr. Markov who has form and studies blood and has friends. Yeah?
Yep.
That is our operation. I'm going to suggest we take a swift break and then come back and use the last 45 minutes we've got to have a swift op. Yeah? So I'll see you at 1:15, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, back from our final break. So we have a club called Scary Monsters, patronized by slightly overweight middle-aged people trying to pretend that they are still 20-something. It's got a soup kitchen right at the back, run by what I've called the International Homelessness Network, fronted by Dr. Markov, who has a sketchy history and friends in the Home Office at least. So, with all that in mind, what is your operational target? What, you know, I need something that I can say yes or no to at the end. What do you want to be do you want to kill Markov? Do you want, you know, find information on the homelessness network? What are we talking about here? Save homeless people? What would success look like? Let's go to Anna.
Grab Markov.
Grab Markov. So you want Markov.
Yes.
How does that feel to Victoria?
Yeah, I think that seems right. Like, can't kill him yet. We don't know much about his operation.
Yeah,
Like,
he's a source of intelligence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is that okay with Matthew and Nadine? Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking that, like, we want to know who's higher up behind him.
Okay. So get him if you can. If not, find out something about the network he's part of. Yeah. Where does he fit in the conspiracy hierarchy? Say. Okay. So get Markov if possible. Otherwise, find out how he fits into the conspiracy. If he fits into the conspiracy, it's a done deal. He fits into the conspiracy somewhere, trust me. Okay.
Yeah, no, he reeks of it already. So
okay, so how are you going to do it? Let me start with Matthew. How are you gonna come at this, Matthew? What's your thinking? What's the elevator pitch for this operation?
Well, we need to get somebody who can, like, do the restraining and capturing inside the club, and Matthew is down for being the accompaniment person to get them in, whether it's the front, whether it's the back, whichever way we think is best, and then probably have Nadine there to be able to monitor like cameras inside and outside, maybe, to kind of see, because also we don't know how the club is built. And then I think Matthew would want to escort whomever like is the muscle to the place where we can find Markov too.
Can I tell you, I think we know who the muscle is. Yeah.
Well,
very slim but very muscular. Okay, that seems a perfectly reasonable thing to do to me. Now, what you can do is you could now spend some intel, right? You've got a pretty good picture of what's going on, you know, where you're looking, but you could, each of you, spend 1 point of intel to define an obstacle you will face. You don't have to. You can hoard the intel for next time and spend it to work out more about the supernatural. But
okay,
you
so
could define.
Okay, so this is intel that defines the problem that we're going to face.
Yes.
Okay.
So, for instance, it could be that there is an internal computer-driven surveillance system, and that would require a hacker to stop. Yeah. Or maybe some part of the club has digital locks. That would require digital intrusion. You know, you with me? It's an opportunity, if you want to spend a point of intel to define a bit of spotlight for yourself. Now, I'll be honest with you, you're not sitting on a lot of intel, so you may judge that you want to hoard it for next time.
Yeah. I think that I'll hold my point, and if somebody else wants to use one, that's cool though. Okay. And we can only gather intel in that section where we are hitting the streets and talking to people.
If you roll 6s in there, you will gather more intel.
Okay.
Yeah, so but you won't be able to define an obstacle once you're in.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Then I might spend one now and see if I.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
What do
might as
you
well.
want to define as an obstacle that Matthew will face that would show off his talents and give him some spotlight?
I think probably some either a VIP in a person in the club who he would know who could take him to Markov.
I tell you what about a VIP he could impersonate?
Oh yeah, that would be great.
Okay. So I put that you will encounter VIP that Matthew could impersonate, and mark 1 point of intel. What about Nadine? Nadine, are you tempted to spend any intel to define a problem? Or
I
are you
am.
just going to go on then?
Well, because I have a nice idea for how to solve it. So yeah, I want to have
that's
a
the whole point
surveillance
of this bit.
system in
That
there.
is absolutely the point. What do you want as an
I want
obstacle?
a surveillance system. So cameras and whatnot.
And it's much more sophisticated than a club needs.
Yeah, and I can't really do anything about it from outside, so I have to be in the club.
Fine, fine. Needs an internal connection. Okay, brilliant. What about Victoria?
I have no intel.
Oh, okay. Yes, you did particularly badly with your paper chase, didn't you? Okay, let's go straight to Anna. Anna, I think you're sitting on a bit of intel, aren't you?
I am, but I'm inclined to save it because I think that this isn't that complicated an op.
Fine.
And we're going to run into much more difficult terrain down the road.
Okay, okay. So in my mind's eye, what I'm seeing is Matthew. Now, again, I'm going to assume that if you're going in as customers, you're going in lightly loaded, because it's going to be slightly tricky to pull off a rucksack. Yeah. Yep. So I'm gonna take that sniper rifle away, yep, and knock Anna back to lightly loaded. Matthew's already lightly loaded. I'm pretty clear that Nadine's going to have to get in somehow.
My plan is not to be a customer, but I figured that the only way that I can access the surveillance system is by being the DJ. Of course, it takes some preparation to make me the DJ for the evening, but yeah.
That's fine. I'm very happy for you to do some jiggery pokery to make sure that you've got what you need. And of course, because it's the 80s, you are edging towards the clientele's age.
Yeah, exactly.
With your teen son. Okay, fine. So you're going to go in as the DJ. Fine. I might need a role shortly to get you on the books. Matthew and Anna are going in as customers. What about Victoria? What do we see? What do we imagine Victoria is going to be?
Yeah, I was trying to figure out because
again. Well, Victoria could well run the operation remotely, but it's also we may need a quick getaway, so having someone ready in the car.
Oh, it's a bit dull sitting outside.
Yeah, I was thinking that I was thinking of declaring a contact at this point.
Well, yeah, go ahead. It only costs you a point of stress.
Yeah, okay. Stress. Who needs that?
So, which contact do you want to describe?
Yeah,
what do they do?
I think it is someone who does work in the club. I think they are. Let me look at the list of contact types we've got here. They're probably a criminal. They seem like a shady sort. Yeah, and I think I'm basically. Victoria's role is to use this contact to make everyone's lives a bit smoother. Maybe they're a manager in the club. They don't own the thing because
Okay. Well, look,
day.
I'm not going to force you to spend that stress yet, right?
Mhm.
At the point when it looks like it's going south, then you can spend it retrospectively. You have this conversation with this guy who works behind the bar 3 nights a week and blah.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Basically, I am like, yeah, it is kind of equivalent of being near the car, I guess. I'm at the bar. The Matthew and Anna will go in, and Nadine is DJing up there, while I'm just at the bar.
Okay. Who is gonna get Nadine? How are we going to insert Nadine as the DJ? You either have to get rid, have the DJ who's supposed to be on taken off, or find some way to infiltrate Nadine into the DJing. So is that digital intrusion, Nadine? Do you do this yourself?
Well, I thought we might have to remove the actual DJ, maybe by making them sick or something like that.
Sure.
I mean, you could just screw with his credit, so he can't, he can't get,
Yeah.
he can't get
Or
the
actually,
or
I
just
could,
make his car break down.
yeah, well, I could use digital intrusion to change his calendar entry to something else.
So he just doesn't turn up.
Yeah.
Roll with expertise to do something else.
Yeah. All right.
Stress or not.
Stress. Oops.
Oh, that's a 5. That goes perfectly. And so what, you just turn up at the door and say, Dave couldn't come tonight. I'm here from Berlin. Right on. Yeah, okay. Yeah. The Berlin club scene arrives at Scary Monsters. Okay, so when we see Anna and Matthew come into the club, up there, making some moves, is friend Nadine, and at the bar already, flashing neon, loud music, crowd of sweaty people on the dance floor. This should be a piece of piss, really, because there at the back of the club in a booth with a good view of the dance floor is Matthew. Do you want to give this guy a name, this VIP?
Probably like just a like a local businessman who owns some of the restaurants there, and probably just like Peter, like something very, very British and middle-aged, like, but very like he's very much like white suit, gold chain in the back. That's pretty much what I'm seeing.
Peter Blake. Peter
yes.
Blake is sat up there, and in a moment I'm going to check you've got a disguise kit with you, if you want to pretend to be him, and I think you will see him at a table in this booth talking to said Dr. Markov, because you will have got a picture of Markov by now, because he'll be in Wikipedia. Wikipedia will give you the charity and then his picture. A slightly drawn, slightly sallow-featured man in his 50s, balding, deep pits of eyes, doesn't look at all healthy, must be said. And you and Anna are scoping that out. At the bar, we see our friend Victoria, and up there throwing some moves on the DJing is Nadine. What happens next? Victoria, do you want to do something, or are you going to leave this in Matthew's court, Matthew and Anna's court?
Yeah, they seem to have it.
Well, we might need you for in the very unlikely chance that we don't.
Yeah, look, it'll be fine. Look, I'm trying to retroactively teach Matthew the importance of knowing when to slide in and help.
Of course you are. Of course you are.
Yeah.
I'm just at the bar, having a drink.
So I think what we then see is we see Dr. Markov shake Peter Baker by the hand and disappear through a fire exit at the back of the kind of club room. But you do notice that there is a burly gentleman standing in front of the exit. Looks like there's a bouncer or some muscle making sure nobody goes through that door unless they need to.
Okay. I think Matthew would kind of look at Anna and be like, so I'll talk to Peter, see if I can do a little switcheroo, if you can take care of our muscled friend back there where Markov is, and then Peter will find his way through.
I can, but I don't necessarily have a great place to put him for any length of time.
Oh, the wonderful thing about these flashing neon lights is that they cast tremendous shadows left, right, and center.
Yeah.
And of course, Nadine does have some control over the light show from up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And over the playlist as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can go talk to
a muscular friend.
Tall, dark and ugly.
Yeah. Billy Talltrees. And so you're drifting in that direction just to make sure he doesn't cause a problem. And what do we see in the booth then as you approach the booth, Matthew, and slide in?
I think Peter's probably there with like bottles and like some people probably around, and I think Matthew's just like saluting them like, hey, Peter, we have I have a mutual friend who wants to say hi. Like one of your he's a big fan, but another restaurateur from London. He's hung up back there but he wants to say hi, and he's just dropping whatever name he can in the confusion of stuff.
Okay, I think this sounds like negotiation. Come with me and I'll introduce you to someone you need to meet. So I think you're rolling with expertise. Would you like to include your stress dice?
Yes, I think I
go for
do.
it.
In this case, we're gonna.
Did that roll twice?
It did roll twice.
It didn't show up for me, so I didn't know.
Well, look, do you want a 6 or a 5? The choice is yours.
Ooh, I think probably it just showed up on my screen as a 6, so maybe my internet went on.
Let's take the 6. It's not on. Neither of them were on the green dice, so you're home free. So you are rolling to do something else, and on a 6, you succeed brilliantly, and the GM will agree with you what extra benefit you get. So he says, "What? Jimmy's here." And he kind of bustles out of the way, this slightly fat man in a white suit that's too tight for him. And he says, where's he gone? Where's he gone? Where's Jimmy?
Oh, he's gone. I think he's just gone around he might have hit the loot, actually. But I think we can go find him.
Oh, he's always had a bladder the size of a pea. Come on, let's go find the bastard. And yeah, so I think that sounds like it succeeded brilliantly. You've got him exactly where you want him. Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
And so let's then cut to Nadine. Nadine, you can see Anna just floating across the dance floor towards the bouncer in the corner. Is there anything you think you can do, Nadine, to make this at all easier for friend Anna?
I don't think that getting control of the surveillance system will help here, but I can try to make some trouble on the dance floor by putting on some provocative song, and maybe the bouncer will have to deal with that.
Okay, let's see how that goes. This is roll to do something else. I'm missing the expertise here, I'll be honest with you.
I don't think I have any expertise.
No. So I think, do you want to put the stress dice in so you're rolling 2 dice, not 1?
Yes. So I'm using the gray one, right?
You're using the gray one and the green one.
Yeah.
Who'd take a chance with just a single?
Oh.
Oh, wow. Wow. I think that you do create some trouble on the dance floor. Or do you not want to cause some trouble? Because I've got a cost in mind.
I do want to cause trouble.
Okay.
And I take stress, right?
And you take stress because the green dice came up equal to or higher than. So there is trouble, but the cost is that it has caught Victoria up. So Victoria, who is kind of our reserve here, is now on the wrong side of the trouble from both the toilets and the fire exit. So Anna, there's trouble behind you. The bouncer is going past you. Do you want to cause him to trip, inverted commas, or do you want him to just be occupied for a bit?
Well, I was just going to try to slip past him. He's not dealing with me.
Fine.
And I'd rather him not know that anything happened.
Fine, that's great. Now, Matthew, I do need to come back to you because, of course, you rolled a 6, didn't you? So you will have marked intel. But what freaks you out is when you're stripping the clothes off the unconscious Peter, because you succeeded brilliantly. I'm not going to take you through a fist fight in the bogs. You find that he has a series of scars on his neck, 2-point pinpricks, it seems to you. So would you roll for stress, please?
Okay. And that's just rolling the stress dice.
That's just rolling the stress dice and hoping it's not higher than your current stress. I think that's okay, isn't it? It's a 2. Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Vampire bite marks? Shit, who cares? So
what we're here for.
Exactly. So I'm going to mark you a point of gear and demand that you have a disguise kit. Yeah.
Yep.
And a slightly less fat, but in this light it won't tell, Peter Baker drifts to the back door, the exit, where Anna is standing, just making sure that bouncer doesn't come back. Victoria, you can see them at the door, and I think you see them both go through the door, unless you tell me not.
Yeah, I think I'm keeping my eye out, but I'm wondering what this trouble is. The wrong music came on, and apparently I'm caught up in.
Yeah. Well, you're on the far side of it. You're not caught up in it, but you couldn't have got to the door if that hadn't gone well. But I think that, somebody's, you're playing David Bowie and on come the Sex Pistols. People think, what on earth is going on?
That's disgusting. I think I'm going to turn then to the bartender because it seems like going out the same way is going to be a problem. So I'm going to turn to the bartender who is about to get off their shift, who is a friend of mine, and shout over the Sex Pistols. God, no, I'm not gonna front. I don't know any of their music. I think you'll shout, "You might want to move your car to the back of the building." Wink. I think Victoria says out loud, "Wink."
So I've added a criminal. You can give him a name and some pronoun, or them a name and some pronouns, and mark stress. And there is now a car at the back of the club. Okay. Nadine, are you content to just carry on causing chaos? Because there are people saying, "Who the fuck's that?"
I guess for a few minutes, yeah.
Okay. By which time we cut to beyond that fire door. Yeah?
Yep.
And beyond that fire door is a set of steps going up to the offices above the club. So who goes first?
Me.
Yeah. They don't call you Minder for nothing. So 2 goes to, and there's an office door at the top. The lights are on, and you can hear someone talking on a telephone. What do you do?
Can we make out anything?
You probably can because they're speaking Romanian. So I think probably Matthew can pick out. Yes, yeah, the next consignment will be with you within the week.
Yeah, I think Matthew passes that along. Like, either my Romanian is rusty and they're talking about a thrift shop, or we've found exactly what we're looking for.
I think I'm going to let you mark intel for that, Matthew, just as a freebie. So what do you do, Anna? You're at the door.
We're just going to do a grab, right?
Yeah, I think so.
All right.
Okay, so this sounds like confront the conspiracy or its pawns.
That's right. So I'm going to try to do a surprise grab.
Okay.
You know, I have I have a pistol.
Could we hear how many voices there were? Like how?
One.
Oh, just one. Okay.
Yes. Right. So
would it help if Matthew goes in as Peter, just like as a distraction? Like, is there any like support that
you can
could help
always
Anna's?
you can always cooperate, which would mean that you would both roll, and the best single dice would count. But of course, if either of you rolls 1 to 3, then you could both end up marking heat.
Oh, okay.
Can we surprise them a little bit more if I actually disable the surveillance system now?
I was wondering when we were going to get to that, because suddenly what you notice, Matthew, is there is a little kind of video in the corner, and it's a little bit too high for you to reach without any equipment. So so this is the point when I think we can see the first camera.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
And in fact, now you come to look at it, that door looks like it's got some kind of code lock on it. It looks like just a handle on this side, but there's no keyhole, which makes you think that, oh, there's the pad. Shit, yeah. So there's a lock and a camera.
Okay.
Much more sophisticated than the office of a club should need.
Yeah, I think he would just be like, let's prep this so that you can get in and out, Anna, and would let Nadine know that the deli shop has some more customers. So.
Okay, Nadine.
Yeah, so
Raid
luckily
the deli shop.
Yeah. So
this sounds like doing something else with your digital intrusion expertise.
Exactly.
Do you want to include the stress dice?
I want to, yeah.
Go ahead, roll all 3 dice. Oh,
oof. At least you.
Oof went the crowd. Fail or succeed at a cost?
Succeed at a cost.
Okay. Well, succeed at a cost. I think then that the cost is heat will go up by 1 because the door clicks open, and the ward that this scientist has set up, the trap that they've set up here, goes off, and there's a kind of poof of gas. So I think I need both of you to do something else to get in there without being affected by the gas, or the gas will remove your expertise for this scene.
Gotcha.
So Anna, you're at the sharp end. Go for it. So do something else. I think Fieldcraft, you've done those exercises on the SAS selection course where you have to hold your breath for 15 minutes.
All right.
So you're rolling with expertise.
Yes.
Oh, well, stress does go up, but you get a 6. So you are unaffected by this gas, and you won't have to roll again. You can do whatever you like in there. But I'm not so certain about, I'll come back to the 6 in a moment. What about you, Matthew?
I don't know if he has any particular experience. Like, he's just gonna be covering his face pretty much, I think.
That sounds like the center dice and the green one if you want it.
Yeah, yes, just in case.
Or you can just back off down the stairs.
Oh, as in like not go in with Anna.
Yeah.
I think that I should be there just in case, if there's a chance that Peter could throw Markov off, just the fact that he's there.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll do that, and I'll do the stress dice. Does this matter, like if it's lower or higher than my current stress as well?
No, if the green dice comes up equal to or higher than the other dice, stress will automatically go up. You won't even roll.
Oh, okay.
Hey, what do you know? A pair of sixes. So you've got a 6. It's not on the green dice. Brandon got a 6. So each of you marks intel. You are going to get something from this office that's going to have some value to you later. But each of you does have to roll for stress because you each rolled a 6.
Even I already got a stress.
Oh, sorry, yours went up automatically.
We don't double.
Sorry, so it's just Matthew that needs to roll the green dice and hope it comes up low. Oh, that is quite high for low. So stress goes up by 1. And Victoria, are you aiming to drift to the back of the club where the car is waiting? I'm just wondering.
I think like there's like a ruckus going on. I think I've heard that like they're going in. I think I just signal Nadine to the comms to just say the salami's gone off. And I think like I'm making my way to like I'm making my way out to the back of the club.
Okay. So you get round the back of the club. Nadine's still on the stage causing as much chaos as she can, and we have Anna in the room confronting the conspiracy or its pawns. Now, if you fight or shoot at a threat, say what success would look like, which is subdue, I guess, in this case, isn't it?
It is, right. I basically want to put a gun to his chin, floor him, zip tie him, and get him, march him out of there.
Simple as that, really.
With as little delay or noise as possible.
Now, because he is a named antagonist, Dr. Markov, you need 2 successes to put him down, right?
Okay.
So this will turn into a bit of a fight because there's more to Dr. Markov than meets the eye, conceivably. So go ahead. You have expertise, and I guess, do you want to include the stress dice?
Yes, because I'm mad.
Rolling all 3. Ooh, that was a close run thing. I thought so. A 4. So that is 1 success. So you've kind of you put the gun to him. I think he probably is surprisingly strong. He knocks he grabs the gun, pushes it away, but you get maybe a blow in on him.
Right, kick to the side of the knee.
Now I'm going to roll one of the failure dice, which is the pink dice at the top. Because the question is, does this have any consequence for you?
Right.
On a 2, 1 to 2, whoops a daisy. The consequences are dire. Agree with the GM if it's bloody and you'll die without swift medical treatment, or painful and you cannot use your expertise until you get medical treatment. What has he jabbed you in the neck with? Is this mortal, or is it just, are you groggy?
What does he jab me in the neck with? What on earth did he have? He had a poisoned knife.
I have to say, I was imagining a poisoned ring.
Yeah. Sure, absolutely, a poisoned ring.
Everything goes a bit double.
Yes.
Now, Anna went in at the run. So I need to come back to Matthew and say, you see the struggle. It didn't go quite to plan. What do you do, if anything, Matthew?
Oh gosh. I'm wondering if there's any way I could use authority here or not, or just because I think,
you can try to say, you can say, fuck Markov, what are you doing?
Yeah.
In the Peter Bacon voice. Yeah, go for it. Roll with expertise. Do you want to include the stress dice?
Sure. Yeah, this seems important. So we're gonna, it's like trying to distract him and be like, Markov, I brought this guy. I brought him up here. I brought her up here. Something. Oh, that's.
Oh yes, because what you notice, Peter, is that it's not a ring. His nails are claw-like. You're 6 on the stress dice. Would you increase your stress by 1, but also increase your intel? Yeah, and you succeed brilliantly. Markov looks at you, ignores Anna for a moment, allowing Anna, even without expertise. Yeah. You have 1 success. You did the second one to put him down. You are rolling just the white dice, unless you include the stress dice.
I better include the stress dice. But it wasn't good enough.
You fail or succeed at a cost. The cost is you can take him down, but you will need to be carried out as well.
Yeah, I'm going to do that. Yeah, I managed to cold cock him with a pistol whip him, and he goes down, and then I clutch my neck and I stagger and I fall to the floor.
Okay, so Markov is down. Peter, you have 2 bodies.
Oh boy.
Who do you take first, or do you call for help?
Is there anything in the room where I can hide Markov briefly?
I think it's going to take you longer to hide him.
Oh no, yeah. And so, because I think Matthew's instinct is to grab is to be able to get Anna out, just like you know,
and is trying to wave you off feebly.
Right. Oh gosh.
Mission objective is always first.
Mission objective.
Yeah, I know. And he's like 2. Okay. He's got Markov trying to support him to look like they're both walking together or something like that. But could he put Anna in the stairwell so it looks like she's kind of just had too much?
Let's worry about whether that works, depending on what happens next, which is you getting Markov out the back exit where the car and Victoria are hopefully waiting. You can always call for help.
Like for everybody else.
Victoria sat out there in the car with nothing to do.
Oh, true. Okay. I didn't know if that meant calling an NPC. For some reason, my brain just
I mean, you could do that as well.
Yeah, because I was like, how? But with Markov, but no, I think yeah, I think I think Matthew would call Victoria and be like, unexpected sandwich, like unexpected, more than one, need delivery, something like that.
Need more filling. Exactly. So as you are maneuvering, because Markov is he's thin, he's light. You will have no trouble manhandling him down the stairs. But that will leave Victoria to go up and get 2. So what I'm imagining, I think the bouncer, Nadine has not left her station, so she is still causing some trouble on the dance floor, where people, must be said, attention is beginning to come to the DJ, because this is beginning to sound like more than accidental. But the bouncer is in there saying, it's all right, it's only the Sex Pistols. No, that was Susie the Banshee. No, and so I think we will see Markov being manhandled out the back of the club into the boot of the car, leaving Victoria. Victoria, you get back inside just as the bouncer has kind of calmed things down. And he's looking round for Peter Baker, who appears to have some role in the club as well. So I think he comes out through that fire door saying, Peter, you up there? And you're already halfway up the stairs out of sight from the bouncer, Victoria.
Yeah, I was going to call in my friend to see if they'd be of any help.
Well, you could do. I don't think the car was a sufficiently big benefit, to be honest. I'd have given you a car. So if you want your friend, did we give him a name?
I gave them a name. Their name is Charlie Chambers, or at least they say their name is Charlie Chambers.
Charlie Chambers to you, sunshine.
Exactly.
So what do you want Charlie Chambers to do?
Because I established that they work here, I want them to vouch for me.
Okay.
It's perfectly fine for me to be here because.
So you're up the stairs. And you can hear a bit of a conversation going downstairs where the bouncers say, Charlie, come on, I need a hand. They're going bonkers in there. And Charlie said, oh, look, I'm a barman. I don't do that kind of work. You know me. Leaving you time to get up there and find two on the floor. So what I think I need you to do now is you need to go back downstairs. I'm just looking at your expertise. I think that to get out the back without the bouncer worrying, you almost have to pretend to be with this drunken friend. Which normally would be disguise. Which you don't have. But I think you've invoked Charlie Chambers, and Charlie Chambers gives you the cover you need. So you get to roll with expertise even though you don't have it. So roll with expertise. Would you like to include the stress dice?
Absolutely. You don't even need to ask. That's an extra die. Like, come on.
It's not to be sneezed at. And it came up 6.
It came up 6.
So mark stress. It goes brilliantly. You mark intel. And I think that's the point at which people are arguing. We see people arguing that it's that fucking DJ, and they turn and the DJ's gone.
Maybe the power is off as well.
Chaos in the club. Car driving away. Anna in the back with Victoria. Matthew in the driving seat. And Nadine just slides into the passenger seat, and off you go. Yeah?
I just say, I think it's time to move on from the sandwich theme.
Okay. So there, if you look on the heat collateral and intel, bottom left, you'll find turning down the heat. Yeah? At the end of every session, the GM will ask the following questions. Did the team achieve the stated objective of the operation? In spades, he's in the boot. Yeah? So that's one. Did the team neutralize a significant member of the conspiracy or one of its freak assets? I'm not sure that he's sufficiently high up the food chain to count as that, I have to tell you. Did the team grant a vampire true death? No. I will reduce heat by 1 for each yes. Now, heat is currently, it was alarmed, you just knocked it down to suspicious, right? So they're just normally paranoid next time. The other thing is, if the team achieved their objective, then every operator automatically reduces their stress by 1 before the next operation. So take a stress off each of you, which couldn't come at a better time, is what I'm feeling. Yeah. And we will start next time with me asking you whether you want to indulge yourself and seek relief from the horror. And then we'll talk about spending to define the next operation and where these leads take you. Okay. But that, I think, is where we finish tonight. I'm just about on time. Can you give me 5 minutes for quick stars and wishes? Thank you. So let me just see then. So let's go left to right. Brandon, any stars?
I'm just getting to know these characters, so the relationships between them is something I'm really looking forward to. As far as stars go, I love the whole DJ messing with the club thing. It's perfectly appropriate distraction.
It was good. That was well done.
And getting poison clawed was also exactly right.
Good. I'm
it's
glad
like, and I could take care of anything ordinary. So him pulling something out of the freak department to deal with hers was very apt.
Good. I'm glad you enjoyed that. I'll come back for a wish. What about you, Leandro? Any stars?
Yeah, I think I'm loving what I've got of the character so far. Can't wait to dig into more of that. I think I just love that everyone seems to be on their spy bullshit. Specifically the whole deli shop phrases thrown between Matthew and Nadine. It's great. It's like, there's a bit of a light touch, which I'm sure is gonna be drained out by all the horror to come. But for a session where everyone's like getting their toes wet, it's really neat. I love this. I really enjoyed watching the whole setting up the operation. I say watching because I failed that role. But no, I think I love how everyone drilled it out like entertainment district, the club. What's the threat? Oh, it's a Bowie club with the perfect name. So it just created this lovely atmosphere, and I love that,
Yeah, that made it very easy for me. I thank you all for that one. Yeah. What about you, Daniel? Any stars? Oh, sorry, Daniel. I knew
Sorry.
No
Start
problem.
with Daniel.
Yeah, stars. I loved all the apart from everything that has been said, all the cinematic descriptions by everyone, but also the characters, and of course stars to the game itself. I also really enjoyed the mechanics, so I'm looking forward to back this.
And Danielle, any stars?
Yeah, I really appreciated the cinema, like how everybody left narrative bits to interact with to connect everything. I thought was really great. So like, the ducks are like Nadine and like that, like however, and the code phrases and also to you as the GM for managing this, because obviously my experience levels in a whole different area. So I appreciate the explaining of the system as well, but it never felt like it interrupted like what the narrative. So
good. I'm pleased about that. Let me go back round for wishes. Brandon, you earn enough intel, you'll have a chance to tell me what happens next time. But do you have a wish for next time?
Character interactions. I want to find out how these people feel about each other.
Yeah, I will ask you early on next time, who do you care most about, who do you care least about? And then you might want to choose different ways to address your stress using Secret Relief, which will give you a kind of little insight into that.
Yeah, I've picked out the stress manifests.
Yeah. Leandro, I think we need to get a little bit more horrific, but anything else?
Specifically horrific stuff to happen. Maybe I'm not saying to Victoria, but she got the easy shift most of. So I'm looking forward to at least putting more trouble our way.
Fine.
Not that there wasn't enough trouble, but
yeah, what I'm wondering about is whether I need to put tradecraft front and center next time. So we need to be doing some tradecrafty things that go a bit freaky. I don't know. I'll think about that. Daniel, any wish?
A little bit more horror, more darkness. Yeah, I enjoyed the session. It was very over the top, but some more of the dark stuff, and maybe apart from seeking relief, also some relationships with the anchors, maybe.
Yeah, well, again, you have a chance to interact with them as part of Seek Relief. But yes, I think we've had a bit of light. We now need to cast a little shade. Yeah, okay. And finally, Danielle, do you have a wish for next time?
I think I just will go along with everybody else and just kind of like see what happens, and then also try and get a little better at voices in case that comes up again.
Oh, don't worry about that. There's voice and there's accent. Voice is fine. Okay. Thank you for that. I will stop the recording. There we go.